Alpine, Texas. Thank you. Notice hereby given that the City Council of the City of Alpine, Texas will hold a regular meeting at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, June the 1st, 2021 at City Council Chambers located at 803 West Holland Avenue and via Zoom conference in the City of Alpine, Texas. Meeting login details may be found at www.cityofalpine.com for the purpose of considering the attached agenda. The notice is posted pursuant to Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 1.1.043 Texas Government Code. Members of the audience will be provided an opportunity to address the council with any agenda item after determination of the form of approval notice at the meeting. Zoom meeting comment, question, rules, and procedures are listed on the city website. Remarks will be limited to a total of 3 minutes per person. Please email your name to g.calderon@ci.alpine.tx.us. If you have a petition or other information pertaining to your subject, please email it to the city secretary beforehand. All names wanting to make public comments for the meeting will be queued upon and given to the mayor at the section of the meeting. The mayor will call on those individuals one at a time, and the meeting moderator will take you off mute to make your comments. This will function the same as our existing sign-up sheet in council chambers. Please note you must include your full name, first and last, along with what ward you reside in or have business interest in. If you do not live or own property in the city, please state that in your email. State law generally prohibits the council from discussing or taking any action on any issue not included on the agenda. But if appropriate, the council may schedule the topic for future discussion or refer the matter to staff. No personal attacks on council members or city staff will be allowed. The mayor and or city council members may call a point of order to stop personal attacks. If an individual continues to personally attack an elected official or staff member in the meeting, they may be barred. To order, we'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Everybody please rise and mute your phones. Pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty. Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. City Secretary, do we have a forum?
Yes, Mayor, we have a quorum. All members are present, and the notice was posted by 2 p.m. on May 28th.
Okay, any public comments?
Yes, it is. Hi, my name is Chris Mueller. I'm in Ward 1 of Alpine Manor. I just want to reiterate my resistance to changing the meeting time to 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm not sure why this even came up, and I'm sure there was a reason, another reason we don't know. We don't know your reasoning processes these days. But I just want to say again, I think it's a bad idea.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Laura Gold.
Hello, hey everybody, my name is Laura Gold. I reside in Ward 3. And I'm just giving you, I just want 1 minute, 2 minutes. And I want to talk about an item that's in the discussion items tonight. It's just a little background. This is about the Dark Sky Initiative. And we've had 4 public meetings on it. And I'm just giving you guys that don't know or maybe haven't been paying attention or watching the news or whatever. September 15th of last year, it was presented to council the first time. October 7th, we had the first workshop. November 18th, we had the second workshop. And April 8th of this year, we had the third workshop. All of them are on Zoom, they're all recorded, and they're all on the city's website. So that's good, just background information for you, if that helps. Thank you for bringing this up and taking the time to listen to this again. And I really look forward to working with one of you to get this on the agenda for an action. As an action. Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
I'm really glad we have such good staff.
Anybody else? Anybody else? That's it? Okay. Let's go ahead and move. We don't have any presentations and I don't have a report. City attorney report, none. City manager.
Good evening, council and mayor. Just a little update, nothing too much. The first item, bear with our technical difficulties. Just some staff updates. The first one I wanted to kind of update you guys on is the Alpine Schoolhouse remodel. So back in November of last year, council had approved the emergency resolution to basically spread us all out. There are currently 5 people who work up in the very front office. Goes against kind of all the social distancing and all the things we've been practicing. It is a city-owned building and it did need to be updated. We don't want an asset just to sit there and rot, basically. So we're utilizing this building to move the finance and the utility billing. U Construction has been assisting with the actual construction. Big Ben Telephone is working on all the phones and internet services for all the different offices. We are remodeling the workspaces in the restrooms. The electrical and plumbing are all being updated. The bathrooms have both been gutted, floor fixed up, and new toilets, vanities and stuff like that will be put in. They are updating the HVAC system. It's not being completely replaced. It's being maintained, actually. A little bit of maintenance goes a long way. So they're performing the maintenance on it to get it up and running to the regulations that it needs to be at. One of the big things that we're focusing on is that this is centrally located for all the customers. It's really close to the bank as well. So from a cash perspective, we can get the money to the bank. It's not sitting. If we need to make change, it's easier for one of the girls to run across the street than to wait for someone who has, more time to drive all the way over. It's right by the grocery store, so everyone can go grocery shopping and pay your bills. We're hoping that we'll get a big PSA out towards the beginning. That way everyone knows, one, that we've relocated and all the options that basically all the customers have, online payments, ACH payments, and now will be centrally located to the downtown area. The next slide is, is just the pictures. The first one is the bathroom that's been regutted. The second one is actually when you walk in, that will be our new service counter where you'll get to pay your water and gas bill. We're actually working towards having it where when you come in, you're not separating your water and your gas. Payment wise, we still have to do that, but hopefully you'll be able to go to one customer service clerk and that's it. Instead of jumping from here over to the other side, they'll be able to take both payments and record them properly. So that will be our new service counter. That little space will be actually modified to include a supervisor office, the counter space, the storage, and then hopefully a receptionist type person as well. And then the last picture is really the hallway. We wanted to show you the wallpaper has been removed. Everything's being repainted to a lighter gray, white color, kind of cheer up the place. The floors will be redone. We are taking precautions. We had the option to keep the wood floors, but the long-term maintenance and making sure that they're properly taken care of and that there's no damage to them was an on-taking that I think the city needs to look at a little further down the road. So we are going to put in flooring that won't harm the current wood floors. Those are the original wood floors. It's kind of crazy because the wood goes different directions. I think they will be beautiful if they're ever refinished. but from a time constraint and from a maintenance constraint, we wanted to ensure that we kept them, but that the floor would be usable. We went with a linoleum vinyl type flooring that is more commercial, so the traffic in and out and people and moving things, it didn't damage them in any way. The next item is the swimming pool. We did not open last year. We did this year. We're telling everyone keep calm. The pool is open. We have, they opened this Saturday. The next slide. We have 14 certified lifeguards. We are open 7 days a week, weather and staffing permitted. I think we were very blessed this weekend with a lot of rain. When there is rain, of course, it becomes an issue with the lightning and that. So the lifeguards have to take those safety precautions. And we did have to close for a little while, but they're right back at it. They did so well the first day that they actually ran out of change. That's always exciting when you give them so much and you're like, what do you mean you only have 20s and 50s? It's kind of, exciting to know that we're back up and running. There will be lap swimming. Of course, there's the general admission swimming, water aerobics, and you can schedule your pool parties. The first one, it was opening day, just a little crowd that had started when they opened. And then the last two pictures is our certified lifeguards. This is the training that they went to. It's not just being able to swim in the water. They actually get CPR certified. And of course, they get their lifeguard training certification. So it's both classroom and getting to be in the pool. So we were kind of excited to get them all taken care of and actually open. One of the other items that I have on my little report is our budget process. Typically, the city's already kind of started this process in May. I have it as a discussion for right now. We really need to move forward with it. Believe it or not, the last 4 or 5 months are going to disappear, and everything has to be kind of done before the end of our fiscal year. So because we have a lot of new faces on council, I kind of wanted to go through some of the things that will be coming up that you'll see on the agenda. One is the review and update, if necessary, our budget policy, investment policy, financial policy, and the city organizational chart. So these are ones that kind of have been passed in the past years that we need to revisit and look at to give you kind of the idea that was set, what is to be included in the budget, the process, the timeline. Everything is very dated so that you have to have things done at specific times in order to move forward. The other big part of the budget, of course, is the budget calendar, our workshops, our public hearings, and of course, approval dates. I provided a tentative schedule. You'll notice that there's several to be determined. Typically, when we start off the budget process, we do inquire via email, a little survey, or hey, what are you looking forward to doing in the next budget cycle? What are your priorities? And I had it for the June 15th meeting, either as a discussion item or if you wanted to provide that information so that I could get back with the department so that they kind of know the direction that you and the public want to go. And at the same time, they know their internal in-house what needs to be done in order to stay in compliance with all the different agencies we report to. June 30th would be the department priority deadline. They would have their initial budget going. Everything from personnel, number of positions. I did discuss with them more along the lines of projects. Typically, we have these line items where we budget a certain amount of money for travel. This year, I kind of wanted to focus more on what are your big projects? What are you trying to accomplish? What training do you have to actually accomplish it? Just a little bit more detailed so that we don't do the catch-all. I know that the gas department has priorities every year in regards to they have to meet so many miles that they replace the infrastructure. The water department and the wastewater have been working really diligently on trying to accomplish things to be in compliance with TCEQ. The police department always has big projects, whether it's between community service or trying to just get their officers outfitted so that they're protected. So hopefully we'll get all that put together in a timely manner. July 6th is when the 5-year capital plan would be presented. The departments have already worked on this and gathered, I call it the want list, their Christmas list. And we look at it from, of course, a 5-year capital planning whether we have the money, we have to go out for money, how do we raise the money? And then we would have our first and second budget workshops. Of course, would present and file the proposed budget. You have the proposed tax rate, you have all of your public hearings. You have to have the approval of the actual budget. The budget does have to be balanced, and then the approval of the tax rate. So this is always the fun part. The city's budget has to be approved before the actual tax rate. So it's very time framed. You have to kind of, if you get one approved, then you can approve the other one, but you can't do vice versa. And then you have to actually submit public notice, have your public hearings. You have 7 to 14 days, and then you're working with your regular council meetings as well. Both of them have to be approved before September 30th, 2021. So that is the state deadline. Tax office usually gives us a call saying, hey, what's your tax rate? Can't send anything out till we know. So be prepared for the next meeting to kind of have a discussion on dates. We do try really hard to incorporate all of these items into your regularly scheduled meetings. So there's not too many extra meetings, but down the road, if things time-wise get a little off, then we will have to have a couple special meetings specifically for this. On the budget workshops, we try to typically schedule those around 4, 3, just depending on how much needs to be discussed on the day of your regular scheduled meeting. So you'd have your budget workshop and then you'd go into your regular item. The next item, and it may be a little hard to read, and I can provide you guys these in the future if you'd like, is our actual staffing. I wanted council to be aware. I am very grateful that I can't hire and fire. It's wonderful. But we do have a lot of the lower positions that are open, and I would really hate for something to happen where we get applicants and we're having to wait for a long process. Currently, the police department has 2 full-time positions. Dispatch has 1 part-time position. Public Works has 2 openings in the street department, 1 opening in the park department, and we do have 1 opening as a mechanic. We're pending the background on the current application. Public Utilities has 2 full-time positions open in the water, and effective June 11th, the Public Utilities Director position will also be open. We currently have applications for 2 recycling technicians. We did have 1 individual who resigned and then another one who will be leaving us in June. We do have applicants. They have been vetted by the department and would like to move forward. We have a part-time municipal clerk position open, and then on the administrative, the city manager, city secretary, and city attorney. Just to kind of give you guys a rundown of everything that's still pending. On a positive note, on May 27th, we received word from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Commission that they voted and approved the first phase of the Pueblo Nuevo Park of $217,591. We were pending, we were excited. We just weren't sure if they were going to pass it or not, and they did. So big congratulations to Marcy. She is our grant writer, and these are big ones. When I started here, Parks and Wildlife said, don't apply for a while. We had made a few little boo-boos and got back on track, and now we're going after their grants again. One of the items on the agenda, and I'm not sure if Mr. Perry's here, is the wastewater plant. They've been doing a lot of work out there. I did sit down and just talk with him in regards to the aerator, which is why it's a specific discussion item, so that you guys can kind of understand the process and where they're at with that. And hopefully there will be delays in moving forward to get that fixed. It will be a nightmare if something goes wrong. And then just kind of like a friendly reminder, I know Eddie had done an awesome job with his paving report, but as we get into June, you're gonna start seeing these guys out there more and more working on the roads, as long as the weather permits. It's kind of those, we want the rain, but you can't fix the roads when it's raining. So they're starting this month on East Avenue H between South Highway 118 and South Ferguson. So that's a total of 9 blocks. So they've kind of got their game plan going. So when you see them out in that area, they'll be seal coating. They've already started cleaning the roads, doing the edging on where the grass kind of comes in, and they're gonna move forward. But those are kind of the big items that I wanted to touch base that aren't on the agenda, so. that is it. Any questions?
Megan, when do y'all expect to be in the building?
We had set a deadline of July. I don't think we're gonna move in July. As we do the construction side and go in and start getting things, the things that you don't know kind of pop up, and so we've had some flooring concerns and electrical concerns, and we're addressing those before.
Good, thank you. Let's move on to city staff updates. You have none. Public hearings. And public hearings still take citizens' view and comments on one animal permit for 4 horses and 10 steers located at 1909 West Mosley Loops, Alpine, Texas 79830. Applicant is Justin Flavor. Any comments? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. Minutes, financial reports, department written report, board appointments. Notice to the public that following items are routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background supporting material, each item and or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a council member, in which event the items will immediately be withdrawn for individual consideration in its normal sequence after the items not requiring separate discussion have been acted upon. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote. City manager.
Approval of May 18th, 2021 minutes. Approval of May 24th, 2021 minutes. And approval of first and second quarterly investment reports.
I'll entertain a motion. Okay, second,
I think we need to do
we,
something.
we need to do a motion first. You want to do a separate one?
But,
I can withdraw my motion if you want. Separate some of them.
number one,
Number one, okay. And you're gonna move that to,
I make a motion that we separate
the
approval of the May 18, 2021 minutes.
okay, you don't have to make the motion. on this. Okay. All right, on items 2 and 3, I'll be the motion on that one. Okay, second. Okay, any discussion?
Was there a
Should be.
second on moving
Yeah.
that one item?
Mhm.
Who was it?
No, she's just moving it to other, you don't,
He said I didn't have.
yeah, you don't need a motion for that. All you got to do is just say you're gonna take it out of that, move it elsewhere. Any discussion on the other items? 1, 2, and 3? Okay, see none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, opposed, like sign, motion carries. Okay, let's move on to, you gonna move it elsewhere or?
No, we can do it right now.
Okay, yeah,
I just had some additions on there. There was on the city mayor's report, there was presentation to Ramona Olivas and Lucy Escobedo. There was also a presentation to Rick Stevens done that day. And that's not on there. And also,
right now, we was also.
yeah, Ramona Olivas is on there and Lucy, but we did a presentation to Rick Stevens, and that's not on the minutes.
Yeah, okay,
We did.
yeah, you just, yeah.
And then on discussion and consideration, number 1, determination of Eric Zimmer.
Mhm.
It says that Rodriguez and Johnson abstained. We did not abstain,
We did not.
so we can change that too.
Can I ask what happened then? Because I just reviewed the video and,
I voted against,
okay,
and,
on Eric.
right, and it went kind of fast on that. So there was, Rick Stevens had done a point of order to see what the reasoning was behind Mr. Johnson abstaining. And Mr. Johnson said, I didn't abstain, I just didn't get a chance to. It wasn't called for the nay, so he said that he was against it too. So there were not,
Okay, so both Counselor Johnson and yourself voted no to the termination on item 1.
Right.
Okay.
Jessica, so you make a motion to approve as amended.
I move that we approve the May 2021 minutes as amended.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you very much. Nick. Okay, let's go to item number 8, city manager. Interim city manager. Sorry.
Discuss wastewater treatment facility current aerator project, and I do not see Mr. Perry here. I know that in 2019, I give you a little bit of background. Mr. Perry was going to provide the full background. In 2019, money was set aside for the improvements of, well, a motion was made for money to be set aside up to $300,000 for the improvements at the wastewater treatment plant. Shortly after that, Eric was brought in, and then Scott was hired, maybe a week or two after that. They didn't put it on the back burner. They've still been moving forward with it. They did have to get an engineer. We're currently contracted with Jacob and Martin from an engineering perspective to actually replace the aerators, update them. Currently, the wastewater plant is operating off of one aerator. There used to be 2. They're large. These aren't little. Very large systems. One of them has been down since 2012, 2013. So it's been operating off the one. They brought in smaller aerators to try to assist that one big one. Those help, but not enough to keep us out of trouble. If that big one goes down, the water plant stops. Not the water plant, I'm sorry, wastewater plant does come to a halt, and it will back up, and the material will leak out into the ground in the area. The engineers have been working really well with the utility department to make sure everything is lined up correctly. The big push for the engineers was in 2017, they bought an aerator from another city, brought it back down to Alpine, and it didn't fit. So it's sitting out there, and we have a lovely paperweight that our city can't use that we did spend a chunk of change on. During that time, I know that they've been working with Skinner and Arrowhead, trying to just get the maintenance of the facility on top of it all. The different aspects of this whole system that works. They've been really working with several vendors. Our plant isn't like, we can't just run to Walmart and buy parts. We really can't run to anyone in Texas to buy the parts. So the vendors have all been working with us. They have worked back with Langtree. They helped us with the belt press. They've helped us with a few of the other items out there. So hopefully within the next 4 to 6 weeks, it looks like they will have that project fully underway, actually engineering out there, having vendors out there. Hopefully they won't have to shut down the one to get the other one in and running. But I wanted you to be aware that you will start to see some big ticket items, and that they've done a really good job trying to get this together after 8 years. So it really is an emergency. It's just an emergency that it's really hard for us to fix overnight. They've had to do a lot of their own research, work out with a lot of different people just to figure out the best direction. Scott would have done this more elegantly than me. I just told him the money's there, let's get it fixed. But you know, he does the fluff part. If you have any questions about that project, it is a big thing. TCQ could come in and fine us if we don't get everything up and running properly. So we wanted to get that out there now. So as you see large pieces of equipment headed out there, you know why.
And the paperweight, have we made any attempts to sell it?
No, it was not put on the list for auction this year. Of course, we can do another auction in a few months if we want to. Because it is outdated and very specific, we would have to reach out to specific areas and cities that kind of have that type of wastewater treatment plant. These pieces aren't ones you can just kind of switch back and forth with different communities. It would be nice if they were, Bug Marfa or Fort Davis, but they're not. So they were trying to do a little research on who could they sell it to, but the main project kind of took over, and that's put to the side so that they can focus on ensuring that we get everything fixed.
Well, as soon as we get that aerators up and running, we need to put a big push on that, because that's been sitting, that cost several $1,000s,
20,000.
20,000.
Yes.
We just have 20,000 paperweight. So we need to get a move on, get it off the books. Okay. Outdoor lighting. Are you through with that? Are you through with the?
Yes, I'm through unless you guys have any other questions. Like I said, Scott really would have been the better person. I just knew the basic logistics.
Yeah.
The outdoor lighting ordinance, this has been on the agenda, like Ms. Gold pointed out. I know the county has had a couple sessions with it, I believe. So Ross, McDonald, everyone's kind of been touch base with. I put it back on the agenda so that we could revisit not only the presentation, but an ordinance as well in the future, so we can stay on track of what's going on. So Mr. Wren will actually take over.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Ramos, council members. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. I'm Bill Wren, Special Assistant to the Superintendent at McDonald Observatory. And I'd like to share my screen. If I have the ability, I do. Thank you very much. Let me get this set up here. And I have a presentation. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I've got a very visual topic here. And I want to cover all the bases. Whoops, let's see, that didn't work. Don't go away now. Let's try it this way. Share the screen. There you go. And play. All right. Are you all able to see the slides?
Yes, sir. Sir.
All right. In the map, I can advance the slides and you can see them. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all very much. So again, I'm here on behalf of the observatory to offer some updates to the city of Alpine's outdoor lighting ordinance, to kind of bring it up to current technologies and practices. And let me give you a little bit of background first. This map shows the 7 counties around McDonald Observatory and the 8 cities within, I believe that's 8, could be 9, that currently have outdoor lighting ordinances on their books. Now, much of this language goes back to the 1970s. It was actually in the 70s, the state legislature gave these 7 counties explicit permission to enact outdoor lighting ordinances designed to protect the night skies for ongoing astronomical research at McDonald Observatory. 6 out of the 7 counties adopted them voluntarily. Reeves County was the lone holdout. They were very straightforward. They didn't want any regulations that might scare away the oil and gas industry, and I'm sure you'll see why. In 2011, former Governor Perry signed a bill that changed the language from these 7 counties may adopt to these 7 counties shall adopt, making it mandatory. That brought Reeves County on board. And the bill also included all of the municipalities, all the incorporated areas within the 7 counties. So Terlango, Marathon, Fort Davis, they're all under county jurisdiction. So the observatory's role really, we view the ordinances as vehicles for education and awareness. We're not about enforcement. We don't want to be the lighting police. We really are trying to get across a message to the community that this is about dark skies, not dark ground. We are not against outdoor lighting. All we're really trying to do is keep the light on the ground where it's intended to be and not wasted into the sky, which has the danger of interfering with research here at the observatory. So we hope to offer language again that reflects current lighting practices and technologies. In particular, you might consider the LED which over the past 10 years has been springing up all over the place. So there are some changes that we believe need to be made in order to take that technology into account. But ultimately, we hope to offer the most effective language to protect the night skies and provide for the best lighting practices for the end user. Turns out this really is a win-win situation. The types of outdoor lighting practices that we are recommending turn out to be better for the consumer on a variety of levels. Let me just quickly show you a satellite image of West Texas. This is January of 20, before the bottom fell out of the oil and gas industry. You can see Reeves County and much of Culberson and Pecos as well lit up by oil and gas field lighting. And well, in all fairness, I have to say, I don't believe that any of the oil and gas operators who came into this region, to this protected area to explore and produce oil and gas were aware that these ordinances existed. Again, this was a state law dating back to the 70s that gave these counties permission to have these ordinances in the first place. So it caught a lot of people by surprise. Had they been aware ahead of time, I honestly believe that the oil and gas operators, the companies would have lit their nighttime activities differently. I'll show you an example of that. But when we look toward the Permian Basin from McDonald Observatory, what we see is a glow down low on the horizon to our northeast. 10, 12 years ago, the mountains in the background would have been silhouetted against the starry sky. Now we have this glow coming from oil and gas activity along the horizon. The good news is that it is, the brightening we see is concentrated down low. The astronomers are not using these big research telescopes to look into the trees. We're interested in the sky high overhead. So there's been no impact, no impairment of our ability to conduct cutting edge science, given the oil and gas field lighting. We have pictured there is the 10-meter Hobby Everly telescope. That's one of the largest telescopes in the world, and it is busy doing science. It is actually the largest telescope in the world that did not shut down at all during the COVID pandemic. But just an example of good oil field lighting real quick. Apache Corporation announced the Alpine high play in southern Reeves County in 2016. And before they started exploring and producing, and we approached them about their lighting practices at night. They started out small, did a couple of demonstration projects and scaled it up. This is an example here. This is the big cryo facility on 2903 north of Balmorhea. Notice that this lighting is all fully shielded. You don't see any of the light sources from above. This was taken from a drone about 300 feet up, looking down on the lights. And notice the warm white color also. It's not the harsh blue color that you also often associate with LEDs. So that said, it's just a great example of how the kind of lighting that we're talking about, it scales very nicely. This is exactly the type of lighting that we would recommend for a residence or a business or an industry. It scales nicely from small to big. The observatory is applying to the International Dark Sky Association to establish a dark sky reserve in the greater Big Bend area. The IDA has dark sky parks, dark sky sanctuaries, dark sky communities. The reserve typically is a much larger area. Here is a map of the proposed reserve that we are applying for. We're very fortunate in that the Big Bend National Park and the Big Bend Ranch State Parks are already designated as international dark sky parks. And in fact, I forgot to mention that Bob Krumenecker will close out my presentation here, the superintendent from Big Bend National Park, when I'm done with this series of slides. But this is a very, very large area, and we hope to include, in fact, I've already gotten letters of support from the protected areas south of the river in Old Mexico. Santa Elena, Ocampo, and Del Carmen have all agreed that they would like to be included in this International Dark Sky Reserve. There are currently 18 dark sky reserves around the globe on 6 continents. If accepted, if designated, this dark sky reserve would be larger than all of the other 18 combined. So it's a huge area. And the IDA recognized that and allowed us to establish a northern core and a southern core. So you see the dark green areas there, the parks in the south, and then the Nature Conservancy's Davis Mountain Preserve in the north, and McDonald Observatory's campus in the north as well, all of which already have adopted very stringent outdoor lighting practices. So just very quickly, the criteria that we have to meet for the IDA, we have to be able to demonstrate broad-based community support. We have been conducting lots of town hall events, been doing a lot of public speaking. We're soliciting letters of support. As I mentioned, we just received them from the good folks in Mexico for the protected areas south of the river. And we've established a recognition program for businesses and residences that practice night sky friendly lighting. We announced our initial 4 awardees a couple of months ago, and we've got 12 applications for additional businesses that would like to receive this recognition as well. We're also busily documenting the sky quality across the reserve region. We have a number of volunteers with just handheld meters that they can point at the sky and measure how dark the background sky is. We're gathering about a year's worth of data there to see if there are any trends one way or another. We're also inventorying all public outdoor lighting. It's pretty straightforward in the parks, as I said, those are already taken care of, but AEP and Rio Grande Electric are being very helpful in providing with lighting inventories or lighting audits, as they call them. We've already received a list of all the public lighting in Presidio, Marfa, Alpine, Balmorhea. We're now waiting on Valentine, and then, also Fort Davis, I might add. And Marathon as well. And then the lighting management plan is an overarching plan for the entire reserve. And this is where the county and city ordinances come in. We're trying to revisit that language to bring it up to IDA criteria, which calls for fully shielded lights, a maximum color temperature of 2700 Kelvin. And I'll explain that in a second, but basically it's warm white light. And then lumens per acre cap to prevent a facility from being overly lit, basically using no more light than is necessary for the job at hand. And then they encourage adaptive controls like photocells and motion sensors and switches. It's a wonderful thing. And I just might add here real quick that over the past couple of months, Jeff Davis County, well, pre-COVID, actually, Valentine adopted the language that's in front of you now, although not quite as complicated because you're a much bigger city. The city of Balmorhea has adopted. Presidio is going to do their second reading here in a week or two. And Reeves County, Jeff Davis County, and Brewster counties have all adopted the language that is very, very close to what you have in front of you there. So we're making good progress. I'm very excited about that. Just want to show you some quick examples of mitigation that we've done in the area that you might recognize. The old West Texas Food Bank in Alpine, a 400 watt metal halide fixture that the observatory replaced. We have a group of private donors that will earmark money, donations toward protecting the night skies so we can actually help offset the cost to a business for changing out light fixtures. So we replaced a number of fixtures at the food bank some years back, went from 400 watts to 30 watts. And I'm just going to blink this back and forth real quick so you can see the difference before and after. Much less glare, easier on the eye, and a warmer color temperature. Another example of good lighting in Alpine is the credit union. Excellent lighting all around there. The Trans-Pecos Bank. This is neat because you can see the footprint of the light on the side of the building coming out of the bottoms of the fixtures, and then the sign light here, which is lit from above. It's aiming down. This is all good lighting. and the Border Patrol, Border Protection Facility west of town on Highway 90 uses excellent lighting. They're on our list to receive a next round of awards. And this is high pressure sodium lighting. In terms of color temperature, this is actually much lower than what the limit is, the maximum limit that is recommended for the ordinance. This is around 2100 or 2200 degrees Kelvin compared to the 2700 Kelvin we're recommending. The one thing in the existing language that we're hoping to change is the provision that allows for pole-mounted floodlights to be aimed up as much as 20 degrees off of vertical. This is actually in direct contradiction to the primary provision that requires all outdoor lighting fixtures to be fully shielded. A floodlight aimed up 20 degrees is not fully shielded. I can show you an example of a floodlight that is aimed to 20 degrees. They went according to the current ordinance, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody. Using this just for education and as an example. You might also notice that the sign next door is lit from above and shielded onto the sign, but there are two of these LEDs now aimed up at that 20-degree angle, looking across the street from the front door of the laundromat. You can see, well, you can see a car going by, but you can see power lines lit, trees lit across the street, the buildings lit across the street. There's a great deal of light shining above the horizon and off property across the highway. And from the far end of the Big Ben telephone parking lot there, across the street looking back, the floodlights appear to produce a great deal of glare. In fact, when I took this photograph, there were people standing around out in front of the laundromat, but you'd be hard pressed to see them because of the glare that these fixtures emit. More often than not, we see floodlights aimed up at much higher angles. It's typically done to try and light up a larger area, but it really doesn't work. In fact, when you aim a floodlight up that high, about half of the light is escaping above the horizon and into the sky. It's simply wasted. If the light were to be aimed down, all of that wasted light could be put on the ground where you want it. Many manufacturers offer optional shielding for floodlights. Here's an example of the shield in place on a light fixture on an oil rig up in the Permian Basin. The fixture should have been aimed down a little further. In fact, for a shielded floodlight, we would like them aimed so that there's no light shining above the horizon into the sky. Here's an example of a shielded floodlight aimed down on an oil rig. And by the way, they love it in the oil field. The glare is reduced and they can see better. Here's a quick example, east of Alpine, Duncan Disposal. Some years ago, got a call from good folks at Sierra Lorana complaining about how bright Duncan Disposal appeared from their observing area up in Sierra Lorana. And I approached the folks at Duncan Disposal and asked them if they would aim their lights down. And they said, well, the lights came with shields, so they fitted the shields on the light. By the way, without the shields, you can see how the light was shining across the neighborhood, lighting up the countryside all the way up to Sierra Lorana. But they fitted the shields that came with the fixtures. They did not aim the lights down, but nevertheless, it was still a dramatic impact as seen from Sierra Lorana. Remember, this was a high ground looking down on Duncan Disposal. This is before the shields were installed, and this is after the shields were installed. Just a close-up real quick, before and after the shielding. So even though they didn't aim the lights down, there's still some light shining upward here. The shielding made a great deal of difference. So for floodlights without a shield, we simply recommend that they be aimed straight down. This is an excellent example at a Dollar General store. And by the way, if you're wondering, well, isn't that going to reduce coverage? Well, for a full cutoff light fixture, any full cutoff light fixture, a good rule of thumb is that it covers an area within a radius of about 4 times the mounting height. So for example, if a floodlight were aimed straight down like this from the top of a 25-foot pole, you would illuminate an area within a 100-foot radius of that pole. Outside that 100-foot radius, you shouldn't be able to look up and see the bare bulb in the light fixture. Here's an example of what we did in the oil field with WPX, a compressor station, where we did a contractor's safety meeting and suggested to just try it. If you have these adjustable floodlights, just aim them down and see what you think. And if you don't like it, put them back the way they were. This isn't intended to be at the expense of anybody's safety. But lo and behold, what they found when they aimed the floodlights down, the glare was dramatically reduced and the visibility was increased. They could actually see the equipment and where they were walking. They could see the snake they were about to step on. Now, with regard to color temperature, we're recommending the warm white as opposed to the cool white or daylight white. 2700 degree Kelvin falls right down here, what the industry calls a warm white light. You'll notice that as you increase the color temperature, basically what you're doing is just adding blue light into the spectrum. The hotter it gets, the bluer it gets. Blue light interferes with astronomical observation. Blue light scatters more off of particles in the atmosphere and creates more sky glow. So we're trying to minimize the amount of blue light content. And actually this warm white light is much easier on the eye at night, as the folks in the oil field will attest to. And if you're wondering about where to find information on color temperature, it should be on the packaging of any light bulb or any light fixture that has a bulb installed. That information is given. If it's not given, I wouldn't purchase the product because they're not giving you the information you need to make the right decision. Also, on the ratings on these boxes, you'll find the lumen output. How bright is the bulb? And one of the things I mentioned earlier that we're recommending is a lumens per net acre cap. So to prevent overlighting, for a non-residential development, we recommend no more than 50,000 lumens per acre. So it's really, it sounds technical, but it's really very straightforward. You just count up the number of light bulbs that you're going to use for your installation, multiply that out times the number of lumens each bulb gives off, and don't exceed 50,000 lumens per net acre for non-residential development, or 25,000 lumens per acre for a residence. It's actually quite bright, especially for a low light environment like we have here in West Texas. So just in a nutshell, a quick summary of the steps towards night sky friendly lighting. Basically what we're recommending: all light, with the exception of very low lumen output light like holiday lighting, decorative lighting, and so on, all light fixtures are to be fully shielded to prevent light from being wasted off property or into the night sky, directing it down where you want it to go. Lowering the color temperature to minimize the blue content. It's easier on the eye at night. Reducing the intensity so you're not using any more light than is necessary for the job at hand. And then again, adaptive controls like a timer or half-night photo cell or a motion sensor and so on. Again, it is a win-win situation. The benefits of night sky friendly lighting, just real quick: if you're not wasting light into the sky or into somebody else's bedroom window down the street, it's shielded. Your light is on your property. You can actually use a lower wattage light bulb and save on your electric bill. The reduced glare from a shielded fixture improves visibility. It increases safety and security. I have this in writing from folks in the oil and gas industry that have tried it. I won't go into health and environment, but you can look it up. Too much artificial light at night is not good for living creatures. It disrupts circadian rhythm. Of course, I'm here because we want to try and protect the night sky for science ongoing at McDonald Observatory. And we believe that the International Dark Sky Reserve will be very good for tourism. It's going to plant the flag internationally recognized in West Texas as being a night sky destination. McDonald Observatory pre-COVID, we were seeing 100,000 visitors a year, paid admission. These folks didn't stumble. I mean, you got to try to come to McDonald Observatory. Folks typically don't just stumble over it and discover it. In fact, here we're talking about 100,000 people a year who had made reservations months in advance to be here for the purpose of enjoying the night sky and looking through some telescopes. And this isn't really tourism, but yet I think it's very interesting. This is the results of an interest inventory that Sierra Leone gathered back in 2009. I don't know if anybody remembers Gilbar T, but he put all this together. And it is basically, what is your interest that is attracting you to shop for land at Sierra Leone? And night sky related activities, astronomy related activities far surpass the closest competitors as far as other interests go. Of course, there were a lot of people interested in fishing, which is interesting to me. But anyway, on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Krumenacker, Superintendent Krumenacker at the Big Bend National Park. Bob, are you there?
Can you hear me now? I am here. I'm going to hope that you all can hear me. I can't hear any of you.
I hear you, Bob.
Okay.
I don't know about the council.
Well, thank you, Bill, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak before the Alpine City Council. I just have a few slides, 3, and my role here is to provide some information for your consideration on the impact of dark skies on tourism and the economy of Big Bend National Park. I'm really not an expert in night sky ordinances, so I leave that to Bill. But we like to say in the national park that half the park is after dark, and night skies are critically important here to the visitor experience, and they're growing. Next slide, Bill. Night skies are definitely a big tourist attraction here at Big Bend. Across the NPS, across the nation, a survey was done and they found that 65% of visitors to national parks really appreciated night skies as something that was really important. The last survey we did here on that topic was about 10 years ago, and we got the same number. 65.6% of visitors said that stargazing was an important part of their visit. The programs we give on stargazing, many of our staff have been trained by McDonald Observatory. These are the most popular programs that we have in the park. The visitation to the park, COVID notwithstanding, is increasing tremendously. So Bill said McDonald Observatory had 100,000 people. This year, January through April, we don't have the May data yet. We're 22% above our biggest year ever, which was 2019. We're on pace right now for about 560,000 visitors, and we could easily top 600,000. And as visitation increases, the economic impact of those visitors to the county, including Alpine, grows up as well. So here's something you can see about the economic impact. The National Park Service on a national basis does a peer-reviewed economic impact survey every year. And this slide shows the 2019 data when our visitation, as I said earlier, was the highest it had ever been, $463,000 at that point. And if you look at that number right in the middle, the study estimated that for Big Bend National Park, there was over $41 million in visitor spending. That resulted over on the left side with about 600 jobs that were either created or supported based on the park operation and the tourism draw. And the overall impact on the gateway economies, i.e. Brewster County, Alpine being the biggest city, over $46 million, that lower left number. So the bottom line is that dark skies are a huge draw to the national park. Park visitors want dark skies. Park visitation is increasing. And as our numbers increase, the park visitors have a huge economic and very positive impact on all of Brewster County, including Alpine. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much, Bob. I just want to leave it with, well, this photograph. I believe that the city's tourism people had a photo contest in 2017 or so, and this was one of the winners from Hancock Hill, the desk. But I tried my best to get through the slides very quickly. I don't want to take any more of your time. So I'm happy to try and answer any questions. And as was mentioned earlier, we are looking for a council member to sponsor this revision to the outdoor lighting ordinance and get it on the council's agenda as an action item. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Renz? Great presentation, very informative, sir.
Thank you.
And I hope I speak in behalf of the city council that we do support the dark skies at all times here in Alpine.
Very good. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, let's move on to the action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of thanks, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. Action items limited up to 10 per meeting after being called upon by the mayor or mayor pro tem. Citizens are required to state their names and the ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to the citizens of Alpine. Excuse me, I lost my space here. Citizens are required to state their name and the ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to the citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own business or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak at this time available. And the first one will be Councilman Rodriguez.
I make a motion to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on the first reading of ordinance 2021-05-06, an ordinance amending chapter 23, City Council, Article 2, Rules of Procedure to the Alpine Code of Ordinances.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, we have a second on the discussion.
Basically, this is just to clean the verbiage on it. The time will remain the same at 5:30. Thank you to everybody that voiced their desires and their concerns over changing the time. So it will just clean up verbiage and include Zoom.
Okay, so 5:30, it shall be after we vote on. Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much. Okay, motion carries. Let's go to item 2. Again, Councilperson Rodriguez.
Make a motion to discuss, consider, and to take appropriate action on the second and final reading of one annual permit for 4 horses and 10 steers. Horses and steers will be located at 1909 West Mosley Loop in Alpine, Texas.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Already discussion. I think we've already discussed at the previous meeting. Okay, so there's no opposition to it. So all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to item number 3. Interim city manager.
Yes, this item is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to appoint the mayor pro tem. The current city council does not have a mayor pro tem. If the mayor is not present, we need to have someone who can run.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion. Someone make a motion.
I'll make a motion to.
Okay, second. Or second. Okay, motion's been made in second. And any discussion? And it's up to council who they want as a mayor pro tem. Okay. So all those in favor of appointing mayor pro tem, raise your right hand. Those one sign, motion carries. So who are we going to appoint?
That's your
Yeah,
discussion.
that's a discussion.
You guys really need to have the
Yeah.
discussion on who would like to either volunteer, or if you guys have any recommendations amongst yourselves.
I think Jerry Johnson.
I think we have an
He's
ex-mayor,
the
right?
mayor once.
Okay, so any opposed?
You were gonna say something.
Another candidate?
I was actually going to say that although he's not the senior member, he is the most qualified for the position.
Thank you very much.
You might want to have another motion.
Yes, I
to
want to
second.
make, so I entertain a motion to make Jerry Johnson the mayor pro tem.
I make a motion that we appoint Jared Johnson.
Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, Unanimous, you're the new member pro tem. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go to item number 4.
This item is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on the WTG gas contract, including the relocation of city gates. And I did request that the gas utility director, Randy Guzman, be here. Once again, he will elegantly explain the actual contract and everything that needs to go with it, once you guys have the opportunity to discuss.
Okay, entertain the motion, please.
I make a motion that we discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on WTG gas contract, including the relocation of city gates.
Okay, second. There's a second on the motion. Okay, several seconds. Okay, discussion. Randy, would you like to step up?
Put them on the front row.
Yeah, that's right.
Hello, Randy Guzman, Gas Utility Director. Did y'all have a chance to review the contract?
Yes.
The purpose of relocating the city gates both here in Alpine and Fort Davis is to acquire some of the transmission line that West Texas Gas was gonna have to, actually, it's called pigging. They monitor, they run equipment through that transmission line to test its integrity and make sure that it's all good. But in that process, we were gonna have to bring in some CNG trucks, which is compressed natural gas, to actually tie into our existing city gate to provide natural gas for both Fort Davis and Alpine. And it was gonna cost a significant amount of money in order to do that. So we actually had a meeting with West Texas Gas where we would agree to relocate outskirts, which also would also make it be more feasible with it not being so close to the, our highway there. So that was one of the main purposes. We didn't want to acquire more footages, but looking at price wise of them having to do that every year, I guess I can throw the number out there. They were looking at maybe 150,000 a year for them to be able to check those lines. So they opted to provide moving the city gate, and we acquired that footages, which it's not very much. I think it's almost a mile. So it just add a mile to our infrastructure, which we monitor anyway. So that would do away with that, them having to do that work, and then it becomes distribution at that point. So saving the city money, making it safe, relocating them in both Alpine and Fort Davis just seemed like the right thing to do for everybody. So I know that they're talking about a 10-year contract. It doesn't change anything. I know that when we were the corporation, we used to do that all the time. It doesn't change anything of locking in rates. It doesn't keep it at just a spot rate. So nothing will change other than they're saying that by relocating these city gates out to the outskirts, which is Sunny Glen and South Front Street in Fort Davis, they're the only people we can buy gas from anyway. So it really doesn't change anything other than just guaranteeing that we'll keep them as our sole providers for 10 years. If anything ever was to happen within that 10 years, we will be locked in with them. Acquiring a new tap from the new pipeline would cost millions of dollars to get it back to our city gate anyway, so it doesn't seem feasible at the time. So everything just seems like it's okay. Like I said, safety wise, getting that out there. We're gonna also invest a little bit of money on new metering systems to put out there in the new city gates. So everything that you see here now at the main city gate now will just be like a regulator station that makes sure that we have the 35 PSI to provide for all the customers in our distribution system. So I think that we should go ahead and approve this and move forward. Like I said, it's all about saving money for the city too. So, and you got capable hands to take care of the distribution system. So we'll be able to take care of whatever we need to. Y'all have any questions?
And West Texas Gas is gonna pay to relocate the gates, right?
Yes, sir.
So our only expense is the new metering system.
That's it. That's gonna be the only thing. We want to try to coordinate this because they're gonna bring in special welders to come in and redo the piping. And I would like for us to already have the meters so that we could give them, so that they can actually build and fabricate to our meters. Because if we don't provide the meters, then we're gonna have to fabricate on our end. So it's still, if we can teamwork on this, it's still gonna be saving a little bit of money for us. So,
What time frame are we looking at, Randy?
excuse me?
What time frame are we looking at?
They're wanting to do it immediately, probably if we could, if we give them the green light by in the morning, I think they want to get started within the month. So, and I know that on my end, to get those meters that we're wanting to put out there, maybe a 2 to 4 week lead time in order to get it.
I have a couple of issues with it. One's being the length of the contract, and the other one that the price is a percentage of the higher. Why not the lower? It seems that the contract is geared more towards WTG instead of the city.
And as far as what part?
The length of the length of the contract.
The 10 years?
I feel that that kind of just locks us in, and then it doesn't give us a chance to get another vendor, or anything of that nature.
There's another vendor, is there?
Well, we don't have another.
And it doesn't lock in the rate.
No,
It just locks in that we will buy gas from West Texas.
right.
This is what we did at Southwest Texas Municipal Gas Company. Same thing.
That we don't have, if we had another tap, we did a little research that if the city had its own tap, in order to run that gas to our city gate was gonna cost the city an estimated anywhere from $8 to $10 million. That's if we had a tap. I've still, till this day, I have not seen a tap for the city of Alpine. So,
But does that give us the benefit of long-term pricing? Doing a 10-year contract?
oh yeah, we can, it's through the pricing that they offer. We like, that's coming next on the agenda is to lock in the contract amount. We can lock it up for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Or we can go spot rate every month. But then we don't want to happen like it did in Fort Stockton because they were doing a spot rate when they had that 1 month with all that freeze. They went on what that amount was for that month and they got hit big time. The consumer actually got hit with paying higher gas bills. That's why it's always been our ultimate goal to lock in a rate for a year, 2 years, 3 years. I even think now we have an option for 4. So I don't know, but it's always better because if you're trying to do whatever the rate is per month, to say 1 month it's going to be $20, next month it might be $15. It fluctuates. Whereas if we lock in a rate, the customer will always pay that for that amount.
So if we go in for a lower, let's say 4 years or so, does the rate stay the same?
The rate stays the same for that 4 years.
If we decide to
And
go,
if-
if we decide to go 4 instead of 10 or.
Right. Well, I mean, the contract's for 10.
This contract.
For this contract right here is for 10 years.
I understand that. I was asking you this
Yeah.
different question.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, whatever y'all ultimately decide on the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, then the numbers change. So
Any more questions for Randy?
all right,
Who wants to?
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I understand the basis for the term of Rick Stevens, Ward 5. I understand the basis for the terms, but if I look at your package, that's Exhibit A, which is the package that was sent out to everyone. It is dated Exhibit A, which is the pricing. It says the price to the buyer at the delivery point that is locked in for 10 years is a spot market. That spot market, as was pointed out, is equal to 103% of the higher of the first of the month West Texas Waha or El Paso Permian Basin Index. Let's see, as published in Inside First Gas Market Report plus $1.10 per MMBTU. Does anyone on council actually know what those numbers are? And while it's been said that the price you can sort out in your next action item, according to what you're about to agree to, if you did, says you're locking in for 10 years at the rates as described in this contract. So I think you really do need to understand what the real rates are, because if you vote on this and approve it, you negate the subsequent action item where you're trying to set the rates at a different price. So I think you really need to understand the terms of that. That's one item. The second point I would say is Exhibit A is exactly dated February 22nd, 2012. So that was a few years ago, even though it says the term of delivery is beginning June 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2031. So I think you got some technical things to go work before you make a decision on this motion.
Thank you, sir. Is there any more discussion on item number 4? We
I got one
located the
question
gate.
for the council. Seeing how we're about to have an interim attorney, or at least we have it on the agenda. One, would it be better to have our interim attorney review this contract? Before we
Absolutely.
actually?
Absolutely, we need a table and review it.
That's what I think personally. I think we do.
Yeah, let's go ahead, let's get item number 4 on the way first. We'll go on that one. Let's do it tonight. So on item number 4, motion been made and second, and discussion is any more discussion on item 4 about relocating the gates. That's where we're at.
This motion is just about relocating the gates.
Right, and then the next item is item 5. Is
So
that-
the motion is to approve the gas
Contract.
contract,
Oh.
including relocation of the gates.
Okay,
So you just need to have the vote for that and then a vote or motion to table.
okay, I see that. I'm sorry. Okay. So
Can we-
I need a motion to
Can we
table.
break the gates out from the contract, or does it have to be all inclusive?
It's gonna be separated.
When speaking with JJ King via email, it was all inclusive. But I mean, you guys have some questions that I've kind of jotted down to take back to him. I know when it came to the rates, he said that the contract had nothing, the contract wasn't gonna reflect the rates. We would still be able to lock in 1, 2, 3, 4 years. And of course, when that expired, relock it in again. The date from the February, which was a good catch by Mr. Stevens, really is when the city took over the gas department. So that's the date that they moved everything over under the city, and the original contract has just been updated with the dates. But if you want it separated, I don't think that's an issue at all. I think it'd just be a little,
Yeah, because it's like really like 2 different items, the gates and locking on the rate. Okay.
I would make a motion that we approve relocating the gates, and then another motion that we table the contract
Okay,
until we
let's,
can have an attorney.
okay, let's vote on relocate the gates first, and then we'll make the
But do we
motion.
know that that's an option? I mean, we're voting
Yeah.
on it and we don't know that it's an option.
we need to get back with JJ.
Yeah,
to make
we're gonna
sure.
table that on the blocking the rates.
No, but the gate is
Relocate.
also,
Yeah,
we
but
don't know that.
But that's what we're separating.
We don't know if we can do that.
Yeah, we don't know if WTG.
Well, let's go ahead and
wants
just
that.
table it both until, okay,
So need a vote on the current motion.
okay. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Oppose. Got 1 opposing, 2, 3, 4, okay. We got 5, okay.
And now
See
you
that?
need the motion to table.
Now, we need a motion to table.
I make the motion that we table the West Texas gas contract, including the relocation of city gates.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Any discussion? None, okay. Then let's go ahead and vote on it. All those in favor of tabling it, raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Now, that would go back, city manager, with item 5.
So yes, so the next item is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve resolution 2021-06-06 regarding the deputy gas rates. So the current gas rate contract, which a copy was provided in front of you, expired May 31st. The initial information that was sent out expired as well. So for the month of June, we're actually going to be on a spot rate. So whatever the rate is, that's what we're going to have to go with. The new contract or the new resolution gives you the opportunity to set a new rate. He did provide 3 different options, a 12-month, 24, and a 36-month, which is the email that is attached as well with the information. These are what is current today. In his email, he did note that it was what was quoted this morning. It might benefit the city to hold off locking in the price at this time. As we keep going through the days, it changes. So on May 24th, the rates were actually a little bit lower than they are today. So you have the option of locking in effective July 1st, or you have the option of waiting and seeing if any of the numbers change.
I would recommend wait, see what the numbers look like.
You have to get your motion.
But I need a motion for that, please. Anybody? Okay, we're on item 5. Discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve resolution 2021-06-06 regarding West Texas gas rates.
I make a motion that we take appropriate action to approve resolution 2021-06-06 regarding West Texas gas rates.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, motion made second. Any discussion on this?
You know what
Mr.
the
Stevens,
spot
please.
is right now?
No,
See,
Randy, you
it's
know
up
what
in
the
the air.
spot is right now?
Right now, no.
This is a typographical error. The motion that you have is the resolution of packages number 2020-06-06. You just made a motion to approve a resolution that doesn't exist.
yeah, we
Yeah.
can amend the motion to correct the.
I make a motion that we amend and we change it to 2020-06-06.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion made in second. Okay, any discussion on this? None? Okay,
Can I,
yes, ma'am.
you still motion 2020-0605
It should be 2021
on the amendment.
2021
Sorry.
That's right.
06-05 06.
06.
So I make a motion that we amend 2021-06-06 regarding WTG gas rates.
Okay, I'll need a second on that. Okay, motion's been made second. Any discussion on it?
I have a feeling that we're way in over our head here.
You have 3 motions on the table.
Yeah.
One to discuss it, one for the 2020, and then one for the 2021 correction. If you want to kind of backtrack, have the discussion over what you guys want to do moving forward, whether you want to approve a rate, you want to wait, and then you can also approve the motion to correct our technical error with the 2021. And then the other vote would be to not do anything with the 2020.
Get that? Okay,
So do you guys want to discuss the actual rates?
I
Like,
want to
Yeah.
discuss the actual rates.
that's the issue.
so
and
that's on the
rates.
table. You guys can discuss that right now. Don't have to do anything. You can discuss it.
And Randy, you said you didn't have the rate, did you?
No.
Okay. Megan, do we have any numbers on that?
The ones that we have are the ones that he sent to be able to lock in today.
So for today, we don't know the spot rate. For a 12-month lease or contract, it would be $455. For a 24-month contract, it'd be $433. And then for a 36-month contract, it would be $428.
So for the 428, it would be an increase of 93 cents.
From what we were locked in prior, yes, we were
Right.
locked in at $345.
And then for the 24-month, it would be
Be 433.
433.
It's would be 420.
Greater savings is the 36.
Currently, yes, that would be the better option. The further you go out, the lower it tends to get.
Wonder whether we should get a consultant to make a recommendation on our best strategy.
I have,
That's what,
if council's all right with it, I would like to get back with JJ King and Randy can assist. This was things that were in the work that we wanted to get on the agenda to discuss because we are no longer in a contract. So better now than later. The prices do change. JJ King does an excellent job kind of breaking it down. Ultimately, the decision, of course, is council, whether you want to lock in a rate or not. But I would like to get some clarification from him. I did make notes on, some of the contract stuff, and I could kind of go into this as well. This is just what the city would be charging per, what is it, MBT, Randy?
Do what? Say it again?
What's the initial MBT, MTU?
Yeah, MMBTU.
Well, mine is just not so much the legality, waiting for a city attorney to look at it. It's just so much what our best strategy is.
Just as long as y'all understand that it can go down or it can go up.
I know,
It's
but-
hard,
but-
it's hard.
But other than that, we're locking ourselves into a 10-year contract, but we cannot.
But that doesn't change your not getting your gas rate. That has nothing to do with it.
I understand that.
I think the clarification needs to come from JJ King if we're locking ourselves into the 10 years. And it does specify the rates as well, having that clarification, okay, if we lock in year by year, 3 years, how does that coincide with the contract? Is that what you're thinking, Chris?
Or,
Okay, so then if council's all right with it, I'd like to reach out and we can put this on an agenda. down.
yeah, because right now, we're kind of going blindly.
If you
on
could
this
dummy
thing.
it up for me a little bit.
But I totally understand it really, because I got it,
I
I'm just like.
feel like pushing this, I for one, do not totally understand it, and I don't feel comfortable locking us into a 10-year contract.
I totally understand, that's why I had brought Randy in to assist.
Yes, sir, Ms. Stevens.
Forecasting fuel and gas prices is awfully difficult, particularly given what's going on in the market right now. If I'm sitting in your shoes, the question I'm asking myself is, how far out do I want to lock in rates so we can set the rates for what goes on from a city standpoint? This is one of the main revenue sources that the city council has for funding to be able to meet its needs. And looking at gas prices now, I would have said, a year ago, which I did say, locking in the gas rates back then does not look wise because gas prices expected to continue down. As fuel prices go up, one of the byproducts of pumping things out of the Permian Basin or out of Russia, wherever you want to get fuel, in terms of gasoline or petroleum products, you get natural gas. My sense is you're going to see some stabilization and probably an increase of gas rates over time. Is that a decision you need to make right now? No. But I do think you want to start looking and saying, can I lock in rates at a lower price? And if I was you, I'd start looking at that now because my sense is you're going to start seeing some appreciation in gas prices for two reasons. People are going back to work, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, you name it, are all going up. And as a result of that, natural gas prices are going to go up as well. But that's my perspective. Again, it's a business deal that you're running. You're running a business called the gas company. to make revenue for the city. And you want to lock in lower prices as you can over the next 2 or 3 years and watch how this fluctuates. I think your risk is low if you looked at locking them in for 2 or 3 years. That's my opinion.
So we have several motions on the floor right now. Let's
So-
take care of those first, and then,
The third motion that I would take care of first would be the correction to the resolution 2021-06
yeah,
dash
several,
06.
several five, right? Okay. So I'll entertain the vote on correcting the resolution from 05 to 06 first. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
That's just the technical motion.
Yeah, just to check. Okay,
The
so-
other motion you have was to correct the issue, but it was stated incorrectly with 2020, when it should be 2021.
So I'll entertain a motion. Well, we already have the motion. We just need to vote on it. So let's vote on that to correct, make the correction on that. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
No.
Wait,
So you,
Change it.
I
Yeah.
have my notes here.
so you've already approved the 2021. The motion to approve it to 2020 was incorrect.
Okay,
So you don't want that one to pass.
we don't want that one to pass, okay? Okay. So let's re-vote on this again. All those that support the motion, raise your right hand. Those that oppose it, raise your hand. And oppose it.
Your-
Motion fails.
Then the
Okay.
last motion was the motion to approve or discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve the resolution for the gas rate changes.
Okay. And we already had discussion on that.
I mean, we're on the spot now, right?
For the month of June.
We'll be on
yes.
the spot for the whole month of June, right?
Yes,
So whatever we did tonight won't take effect until
until
July.
July.
To July 1st.
So we could table this
Correct.
and wait till the next meeting
Correct.
to see if things have changed
Correct.
with the price.
And you will meet with JJ,
You get clarification. for
clarification.
increases.
correct?
In June.
And so we're gonna table, the council wish to table that until we get the numbers. Okay, before we act on it. Okay?
Yes.
So I'll entertain a vote on it. All those in favor of tabling the motion till we get the numbers on the rates.
You don't have a motion to
Oh.
table. Right now, you have an open motion to
So-
approve.
To approve, so, okay, so all those in favor of approving the motion, raise your right hand. All those against the motion, raise your right hand. There we go, now we got it all
And now you
square.
need the motion
To
to,
table it. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to table it.
I'll make a motion. We table.
Need a second,
sure,
okay, any discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor of tabling it, raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries. Okay. Take all those notes down, all the confusion, okay. Let's go to item number 6.
the next item is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to appoint an interim city attorney.
Okay. Entertain a motion on that.
I make a motion that we discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to appoint an interim city attorney.
As for a second, okay, discussion.
Has this position been advertised?
No, it's just interim. This is the interim. It's
Right,
not,
so we didn't put out that we're looking for an
not that we're gonna put it, I think you're gonna put it out once.
It's one of the items for approval to advertise.
It's
And
on
these are the
items
only
number
two
7.
that we got for interim.
They were just people who randomly sent us things. There wasn't a request for them, we just got emails saying, hey,
we discussing them separate, each candidate separate, or what are we?
And we'll get there, talk about who they are and find the position one at a time, and then we can vote on either or.
I believe Ms. Park is here.
Where's Ms. Parkin? Okay. Would you like to come up to the podium?
Hello, my name is Blair Park. I believe there should be in your materials my resume and a little bit of my background. So I won't reiterate all of that. I'll spare everyone's time. But one thing I do want to comment on is everything that we've just discussed on oil and gas contracts, so the WTG contract. I'm an oil and gas lawyer, and this is what I've been doing for years. And I'm just listening to this conversation. I've been wanting to speak up the whole time. I don't have that contract in front of me, so I cannot speak to it. But that is, like I said, that's something that I do. I know the lingo, I know what's going on with it. So I think I could be very helpful with y'all doing, the WTG contract, both the 10-year contract as well as the rates. Other than that, like I said, I don't want to recitate my entire background and everything other than just to tell y'all I'm an oil and gas attorney. I've been practicing in DFW area, but I'm originally from Marfa, and I've been trying to find a way to come back to West Texas for a while because I've missed it, and this was kind of like a shining opportunity that came out, and that's why I emailed both Gio and Megan and putting my hat in the ring for it. So if any of y'all have questions for me, by all means.
Any questions? Ms. Park, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next. Right.
Mayor and council, like all of you know me, Rob Cotton. Grew up here in Alpine, started first grade at Central Elementary School in fall of 1958. My father was a doctor here at Alpine for 40 years. Medical practice here, delivered 8,000 or 10,000 babies in his 40 years of work out here. I've been a lawyer since 1982. I've represented cities in West Texas since 2002. I have extensive municipal law experience with the city of Alpine, city of Pecos, city of Presidio, city of Monterey. I'm familiar with all the issues that come before the city. I'm familiar with the city, with the issues such as contracts, but I'm also familiar with all the other issues that come up regarding the helping the city manager do her best work, helping the department heads do their best work, answering questions. Enjoyed very much in the past my opportunity to serve the city of Alpine. Have a little bit longer heads with one of the Alpine City Council members a few months ago. The council's now changed. So people asked me why I was interested in coming back to Alpine, to the city of Alpine. I'm back here because I love the city of Alpine. I really care about the city. I really care about it helping to grow. I've got a lot of experience in being able to set up some special districts like downtown and tourism and things of that nature that could help improve Alpine. I think Alpine has the ability to really shine as a tourism destination. I don't think Alpine's really taking advantage of all the tools in the toolbox that the state affords cities like Alpine to get that done. So if you'll hire me, it would be the same as before. My contract would be the same. I bill $200 an hour. Charge you for every email and every little phone call. But I do take pride in the work I do. So, questions?
I have some issues. Rod, you made the comment that, it would be the same as it was back then. I had issues back then. One was your overbilling to the city. You just made the statement that you do not bill the city for every little email, every little thing, but that is what in fact was happening back then. You continue to pursue information on complaints to discredit the Alpine Police Department. going as far as disseminating offender information which was against the law. You put us in litigation with Southern Pacific and allowed an ordinance to be put into effect that both of them had no merit. Basically, I feel that instead of protecting the city, you put us in a position of financial liability, not once, but twice, multiple times. So to me, going back to what it was, I don't feel that that's something I would feel comfortable.
Well, the issue regarding the police department, all I recommended the city police department do is follow the law. And that was my recommendation to the
And you
police
failed to
department.
provide anything that they were not following the law, and it turned into a month-long issue that I think also helped to sour our relationship with the county.
The issue with the Union Pacific Railroad was recommending an identical ordinance that I had provided to the city of Pecos. And the city of Pecos passed that ordinance. And based on that ordinance, the Union Pacific Railroad later moved the crew change facility outside of the city of Pecos, and the city of Pecos was not sued by the Union Pacific Railroad. So
Well,
there
that
was no,
they haven't been the case with Pecos, but with us, it
well,
was
I'm
a
just
no.
telling you that based on the history of that ordinance, there was no indication that that was going to result in a lawsuit. Because what happened in Pecos was that no lawsuit happened. So it wasn't that I was trying to bring the city into litigation. I was trying to solve the problem that was presented to me on the city council because they didn't like the idea of Fifth Street being blocked through crew changes.
I understand that we didn't like what was happening either, but it wasn't legal.
Well, it was exactly the same ordinance that was done. in
That may
Pecos.
be that
But
it was the
not-
same ordinance,
no
in Pecos,
litigation
but it was
ensued.
not legal for us.
Well,
And I think lawyers should have known that, that it was not legal, where calls made to find out. It took our last city attorney not very long to let us inform us that we could not pursue that litigation, but it was not legal. Like I said, I have multiple issues with going back.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Council one. A little bit.
Well, I would like to move this action item to executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code section.
We can't move it to executive session. Executive session is personnel matters with a specific person not
And
hired.
he is,
Not hired.
Any more questions for either candidates? Okay, again, this is an interim position. Okay, it's not a full-time position. Okay, so we have two candidates out here, Mr. Parks and Mr. Pine. And it's up to the council to choose which one they would like for the interim city attorney.
well, I make a motion that we appoint interim.
We have a motion right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
The motion's already been made, second, we're in discussion. So now we need a vote on which of the two.
we don't have a motion on it specifically.
No, we don't.
We just have a
Okay,
motion on that.
that's what I was
okay, I'm sorry. Let's get rid of this other motion first. Okay. So the motion right now is to consider and take a vote. We have to appoint city interim, city attorney. So that's what we're gonna go on to approve that, and then we come back with another motion to choose which one we will vote on. Okay, so all those in favor of item number 6, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Now, your motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Rod Martin as interim city attorney.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second discussion. And I think we already discussed some of your issues. And anybody else, if you have any more?
I mean. Yes, no.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on. So all those in favor of appointing Rod Martin as the interim city attorney, raise your right hand. Okay, raise again, please, and hold your hands up. 4. So it's 4 against 4. And you are
Yes.
against, okay. So Rod, you're the new interim city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, for your confidence in me. I look forward to doing my best for the city of Alpine.
Okay. Now, let's go to item number 7.
Item number 7 is to discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to authorize the interim city manager to advertise for the positions of city manager, city secretary, city attorney, and director of utilities.
I'll entertain a motion.
Also move. Take appropriate action to authorize the interim city manager to advertise for the position of city manager, city secretary, city attorney, and director of utilities.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
I wonder how we can advertise to fill these positions without having a discussion about qualifications and performance expectations. The ones that you put in here are the same ones that we had,
Those are the current approved positions.
okay, but those are the ones that the current city manager, well, the city manager and the city secretary were fired from. As far as I know, there were no issues with their performance of their duties or anything of that nature. So how can we use the same ones that existed? Apparently, that's not what we as council wanted from them. So I feel that we need to have some kind of workshop and come up with expectations and descriptions of what we want from them. Because apparently it wasn't what we have right now.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I'm just gonna follow up to what Chris says. I think this is a perfect opportunity for you guys to actually have that discussion with, yes, we need to advertise, but do we want to have a workshop? Do we want to
Yes.
change? This is the
I
opportunity
think so,
to
like I said,
address that.
we let go of people that were doing their job as per these. So, I mean, we made a statement when we did that. So if you didn't like what they were doing,
So,
then we do.
okay, so right now, we're just gonna advertise, but we're gonna have a workshop, we'll have a workshop, and
But you can't advertise without letting them know what their position is going to entail. Can you? I mean, when you advertise, don't you put what?
We put the basic information for the actual position. The city manager is a contract. What is provided for the job description is kind of the basic information. To advertise, we literally just have to say this position open. If they inquire, we can let them or provide the information that council is gonna set expectations and provide new job descriptions. This is just to get the information out there so that when we have those random people calling, we can put them onto the online system to fill out an application just to get your database started for when you want to interview and actually do that. This is just to reach out to TML and all the boards, but I think you're right. You should kind of sit down and see what your expectations are for these positions.
this is what we expect.
I understand that, but you need to provide them with their duties and expectations.
Right. And
And you need to do that before.
I will not just advertise the position.
I get it.
And we can just inform them that the current job description is up for discussion.
Any more discussion? Yes, sir.
Again, Rick Stevens, Ward 5. I've been in this business 10 years. If you go pursue and advertise without having a position description, you, the council, put yourself up at risk depending upon actions you take when you get applicants. Clearly your choice. You've already got the city at risk now. I don't think you want to put it any further at risk. My recommendation is you spend the time sorting out which your position description is before you advertise. I'm just a county guy who's been in this business for a long time. I know lots of people and understand the law.
No, okay, I'm sorry, this should be, we can also table this, have another meeting, a special meeting, and so we can put all the particulars of the positions. And then this way we can advertise it with the particulars of what is required of the position, and then advertise it. You all agree with that? Okay, so for right now, I recommend somebody table it and we'll have a special meeting to discuss all the particulars for it.
You do have the open motion right now.
Yeah, right, we got
for
to
approval.
we got to table this first. We have to go live. We're gonna table it on the open motion and then table, yeah. Okay, all those on item number 7, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Okay, raise your hands and hold, please. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Motion fails for right now. Now, there's another motion that will entertain that.
I make a motion that we table the action to authorize the interim city manager to advertise for the position of city manager, city secretary, and director of utilities until a workshop can take place where we can verify job duties and descriptions and expectations.
There's a second. There's a second on her motion to table this week. Okay, second, okay, motion been second. All those in, any discussion on it? All those in favor of tabling the motion, please raise your right hand.
Can I
Okay.
say some clarification? You're wanting to set a special meeting for the workshop
Right.
or part of the June 15th?
June
special?
15th, yeah, that'll work.
We ought to have a workshop.
I was gonna say, we cannot sit here and discuss what we want,
No,
you know,
no, we're
in a
not.
regular meeting.
No, that's why I said we have a special workshop for that. Okay. And it'll be prior to June the 15th. Okay, all those in favor of Councilperson Rodriguez's motion, please table it. Raise your right hand. Okay. All those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Let's go to item number 8. Like recess. Take a 10-minute recess.
file. Yeah.
So there.
Okay, item number 8. See. See.
Discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to authorize the interim city manager to work with department heads to hire open positions for recycle tech, court clerk, field workers in the streets and water departments.
Entertain a motion.
Motion that we discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to authorize the interim city manager to work with department heads to hire open positions for recycle tech, county clerk, court clerk, and field workers in the streets and water departments.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, got several seconds. Any discussion?
What kind of assistance would you be providing?
So our current process for departments to hire, they get final approval from the city manager. Without a city manager, the positions are kind of just at a standstill.
Okay, so it's not the department heads that do the hiring?
They make the ultimate, they make the recommendation. So like right now, we actually have recommendations for the recycle tech. They just need the final approval to say, hey, go for it, let's get them hired. When I was made interim, that type of or hire and fire was one of the agreements that I would not participate in as being interim. And it is an administrative responsibility. This item is really just more of a CYA. We do have applicants and would like to get them hired, but just so that you understand that, you know, we've got several open positions, as I mentioned in the report. And as soon as we get them, we don't want applicants having to wait. We want to make sure that departments can continue to fill all those empty slots.
Is council able to tell us why that was placed on maintenance?
You know, we just felt that it was council should oversee, you know, whenever they're gonna hire somebody, just so we know what's going on. That's all it was. Nothing more.
So you're saying that it's okay to do hiring and all that, as long as we're aware of it.
Right, correct. That's all it is. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? 1, 4-1, motion carries. Okay, let's go to item number 9.
Discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve TCQ agreed order docket number 2021-0015 MWDE concerning licensing violations at the City of Alpine Wastewater Treatment Plant and an administrative penalty in the amount of $10,020.
Okay, entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion that we discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve TCEQ agreed order docket number 2021-0015 MWD-E concerning licensing violations at the City of Alpine Wastewater Treatment Plant and administrative penalty in the amount of $10,020.
Okay, second. Is there a second?
Sure.
Okay, motion's been made in second, discussion. This is a fund that's been going on for quite a number of years.
So this isn't a recent, it's a recent ding against us. TCEQ came out and inspected the wastewater plant in late 2019. There were several violations that were reported. The city has gone back and made as many corrections and updated and provided them with any of the information that was missing during the initial inspection. Ultimately, though, the wastewater treatment plant permit does require that we have a Class B certified or licensed technician at the wastewater plant. The City of Alpine had hired someone with double A's. TCQ found that it didn't meet the permits requirement. The individual needs to be there 5 days a week, not 1 or 2 days a week. So that individual, although he didn't donate, he came down, he flew down from another city and assisted. He's no longer assisting since his licenses don't assist the city. The utilities director has been trying multiple times to pass the B as well. TCQ does not make these tests very easy for individuals to get the licensing the further you go up. We have 2 employees who are at the wastewater treatment plant currently. They had to final all of their training in order to even apply to take the test. So they're gonna have the last of their training done this month. Both can then apply to take the Class B certification. There is an application and a background check that the state does perform. Once they get the approval, they can sign up to take the class. The class is offered here at Sul Ross. It's just one of their career center. They go in the computer online. It's all short, sweet. They do have to pass with a 70 or above. They do have the opportunity to take it multiple times. This order came down because at the time we still didn't have a licensed person. We currently still don't have a licensed person. In order not to go under enforcement, TCQ came back and said, if you can follow the guidelines and get someone certified within 30 days of TCQ commission approving, we're giving you a $2,000 discount. You still have to pay the $10,000 and then follow up with the certifications. With Mr. Perry resigning, TCQ will be notified that we no longer have that position, but that the game plan moving forward is of course the certifications. And TCQ doesn't approve overnight. They do have to take their orders before their commissions to get approval. So we're hoping that that buys us a little bit of time so that we don't run into this again.
So who will be ensuring compliance during this time when Mr. Perry leaves and we hire a new?
So the recommendation, and this will be a further conversation, is that his administrative assistant, although she does not have the certifications, she's been working closely with TCQ since she was hired. She's had the change of utility directors multiple times, so she's been the main point of contact with TCQ. So she would be the person that would be recommended to step as an interim. The guys in the field can do the field work. The teams have been established and set up to ensure TCQ compliance with reports and samples. She would oversee them and be the one to touch base with.
Is she applying also to, or going through the courses to work towards the Class B?
She has been, not to the Class B, she has been taking additional training to understand the processes.
Right.
But you do have 2 capable employees who just need to finish up their training to even be able to test.
How long will that be? Sorry.
They'll finish their training this month and then they can start the application process. So we have steps in process. It's just a matter of settling the $10,000 administrative fee, getting the information sent to them, and then letting them process. And hopefully we'll have the time period to show them we're working it.
What time period is this penalty for?
So that started in 2019. That was when they come out to the wastewater treatment plant and did an investigation, an inspection, sorry. That's the word. So there were several items on the inspection list to be corrected, and the city took care of all of them except for.
What was the total of the fine? Remember?
The total fine was over 12,000.
12,525.
So they gave us a
But
discount.
that's only if we satisfactorily comply with all the ordering provisions within the time frame.
Yes.
So will we get the time, will we be in the time frame by the time we get someone to train and test and all that?
We're hoping so, yes.
What exactly is the time frame?
So we have 30 days to provide licensing after TCQ commission approves it. So this still has to go back before TCQ, their commission to get it approved. So we know that that won't process this month. So we're hoping that we can get them trained. They just have to be, we have to show that we're trying. We have to show them that we have 2 individuals who've applied, who have their training, and they just need to test.
If you don't meet the time frame, does that negate?
TCQ can come back and find us again. That's why we'd really like to push for the employees to. They've done their training. It's just finishing up the last 2 classes.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries. Go to item number 10.
So this is in continuance with the special use permits. It's discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve special use permit applications for A, short-term rental special use permit for 509 South Fifth Street. Owners of record are Don and Martha Coates. And B, short-term rental special use permit for 604 East Gallego Avenue. Owner of record is Robert Howard.
I make the motion that we discuss, consider, and take appropriate action to approve special use permit applications for short-term rental space use permit for 509 South Fifth Street, owner of record Donna and Martha Coates, and a short-term rental special use permit for 604 East Gallego Avenue, owner of record Robert Howard.
Is there a second? Okay, motion's made in second, discussion.
As for state.
As per state, yes. We have to approve your choice, correct? Okay.
I think there's somebody on Zoom that wanted to make.
Oh, they
a
wanted-
comment.
okay.
Yeah,
Then let's go ahead.
her name is Sarah Blair.
She lives right down there.
Yes, hello. Is this my time to speak?
Yes.
Okay, hi, thank you very much. I missed the comments at the beginning, so I've been following along. My family resides at 501 East Gallego, which is an adjacent property for the permit request on 604 East Gallego. And I would like to express my opposition and objection to the special use permit for the short-term renters for 604 East Gallego. I have two family members who suffer from conditions and disabilities that cause them to be anxious and nervous in situations around people that they do not know. My brother has autism, and we chose that location because it's pretty low key and quiet, and it's not in the hustle and bustle, not a lot of in and out kind of traffic, and allowing short-term renters would change that and inevitably probably force him to stay inside and not be able to enjoy his property or walking in the neighborhood. In addition, allowing people who haven't been vetted or no way of being vetted when they do stay at these short-term rentals is a major concern. Our property has already been vandalized and our personal property has been stolen. A constant change of renters will increase the chances of more theft and property damage. And my last point is allowing short-term renters also increases the chance of loud noise and or abnormal vehicle traffic. Most people in this area are working people who come and go during normal daytime hours. People who are on vacation or staying at a short-term renter don't usually observe these same type of hours, which will definitely disrupt the quiet area. If we wanted to live in the hustle and bustle or next to a hotel or short-term rental, we would have purchased a home in that area, but instead we purchased this property in a very quiet, sleepy community. We want to keep it that way and allow the short-term renters. Allowing short-term rentals disrupts this, not just for my family, but all the neighbors. So it's because of these reasons and several others that I again express my opposition to allowing a short-term rental permit for 604 East Gallego. Thank you for listening to my concerns, to my special needs family and my whole family. Thank you.
Thank you. The state took it out of our hands and we cannot deny short permits for the STRs. All we can do is grant the permits. So they did that about a month and a half, 2 months ago, wasn't it?
Yes, our wonderful Supreme Court.
Yeah. And so we can't deny those.
Terribly restrictive and oppressive Supreme Court.
Fortunately, it's, state had dictated that to us.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I
I don't know if it's appropriate for me to speak, but I'm the owner of record at 604 East Gallego, and I am baffled at Ms. Blair's comments. I don't know. I know all my neighbors that surround me, and I'm on the corner lot. I've got 3 lots, and it's surrounded completely with privacy fence. And I am at a loss on this issue. We were the first vacation rental in Alpine in early '09, and I voluntarily immediately started paying all my hotel and motel taxes, and we have excellent neighbors. To be honest, we charge quite a bit of money for people to stay there, so I don't think our renters are causing theft or vandalism. We haven't the neighbors of mine. I don't know where Miss Blair lives. I'm concerned about. I don't want to upset her children, but I'm unaware of this issue, honestly.
Okay, Mr. Howard, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Okay, city council comments. We'll start on my left side with Mr. Councilman Johnson.
No.
Okay, so John Johnson. Thank you all very much for coming. It was, it was interesting. There's a lot of things that propped up. But, yeah, and so that we're gonna adjourn to executive session. So I'll ask for a motion to suspend the regular order of business.
Motion that we move into executive section to obtain an update on specifically the Westlands.
Okay, what time is it?
7:40.
Okay. Motion's been made to go to executive session. All those in favor, raise your hand. Don't need a break, or you want to go straight into it? Okay, so
Can I ask whose second is that?
Mwde.
Councilor Sandaka? Okay, thank you.
okay, we're going to executive session, folks. And
No action
There's a second.
on executive.
Did you want me to tell them that they can come back in?
What's it?
We have to let them come back.
Yeah,
Hold that thought.
I mean, they're chomping at the bit out there. They can't wait.
If you want to come back in.
come on, Rod, cook cheddar. Let's get two lords together.
Go ahead.
There's a joke for that.
Huh?
There's a joke for that.
Yeah.
All right, we're trying to go home. Get
Yeah.
back in.
We took no action.
No, Chris has a motion. He needs to-
No.
I make a-
I'm sorry.
well, good reason.
Yeah, we were.
I make a motion that we take no action out of executive session.
Is there a second? Okay. All those, there's no discussion on it. Is there any, all those in favor of taking no action? Motion carries. No action. Thank you. That is legal.
Don't need a motion.
You can end me.
Yeah, this- It's adjourned.